We like to believe that history is a clear window into the past. We trust textbooks, monuments, and museums to tell us who we were. But what if that window has been painted over? Beneath the polished narratives of progress and victory lie untold stories. Events so horrific, they were deliberately buried by the very institutions sworn to protect us. Today, we peel back the black bars of redaction to expose the dark history of Tuskegee, Unit 731, and MKUltra. Uncovering these secrets is not just about recounting facts, it is an investigation into human nature itself. Why do nations hide their sins? And how do these secrets eventually break the surface? For decades, these events were dismissed as conspiracy theories or completely erased from the record. From the rural fields of Alabama to the frozen plains of Manchuria and into the dark basements of the CIA. These are the chapters of history that challenge everything we think we know about ethics, power, and the price of knowledge. Our first descent into dark history takes us to the American South in 1932. The U.S. Public Health Service initiated a study in Tuskegee, Alabama. The stated goal? To track the natural progression of syphilis. They recruited 600 African American men, mostly sharecroppers who had never seen a doctor. They were promised free medical care, meals, and burial insurance. They were told they were being treated for bad blood. It was a lie. There was no treatment. There was only observation. The researchers watched as the men went blind, went insane, and died. But the true horror isn't just the start of the study, it is the duration. In 1947, penicillin became the standard cure for syphilis. It could have saved these men. But the researchers withheld it. They actively prevented these men from receiving aid to preserve their data. For 40 years, the US government orchestrated a slow-motion massacre of its own citizens. It wasn't until a whistleblower leaked the story to the press in 1972 that the study ended.
What was done cannot be undone, but we can end the silence. We can stop turning our heads away. We can look at you in the eye and finally say, on behalf of the American people, what the United States government did was shameful, and I am sorry.
This untold story shattered trust in the medical establishment, a wound that for many has never fully healed. While Tuskegee was a betrayal of negligence and racism, across the Pacific, a different kind of nightmare was being engineered. This is the story of Unit 731. Hidden behind the guise of a water purification unit in Japanese-occupied China, Unit 731 was a facility dedicated to biological and chemical warfare research. Under the command of General Shiro Ishii, thousands of men, women, and children, mostly Chinese and Russian, were referred to as Maruta, or logs. They were not treated as humans. They were vivisected without anesthesia. They were infected with plague, frostbitten intentionally, and subjected to weapons tests. The cruelty is almost unspeakable. But here is the dark secret that implicates the West. When the war ended, the United States didn't prosecute the leaders of Unit 731 for war crimes. Instead, they made a deal. In exchange for the data gathered through these atrocities, data on biological warfare that the US wanted for the Cold War, General MacArthur granted immunity to the doctors of Unit 731. Justice was traded for information. The untold stories of the victims were silenced for decades, classified as top secret by the US government to protect their asset acquisition. If Unit 731 was about physical destruction, our final chapter is about the destruction of the mind. In 1953, gripped by the fear of Soviet brainwashing, the CIA launched Project MKUltra. Led by the chemist Sidney Gottlieb, the agency began illegally testing drugs like LSD on American and Canadian citizens. Sometimes these were volunteers, often they were not. Prisoners, mental patients, and even CIA employees were dosed without their knowledge. The goal? To crack the code of human consciousness, to create a Manchurian candidate or a truth serum. Lives were ruined. Frank Olson, a biological warfare scientist, fell to his death from a New York hotel window days after being secretly dosed with LSD by his superiors. The CIA called it a suicide. Decades later, it was revealed as a cover-up. What makes MKUltra difficult to uncover is the deliberate erasure of history. In 1973, CIA Director Richard Helms ordered all MKUltra files destroyed. What we know today comes from a single cache of financial records that was filed incorrectly and survived the shredder. We only know the tip of the iceberg.
Tuskegee, Unit 731, MKUltra. These are not isolated incidents. They connect to a terrifying truth. Power, unchecked, will almost always exploit the vulnerable. Uncovering these untold stories is incredibly difficult. It requires whistleblowers to risk their lives, journalists to dig through redacted files, and a public willing to accept uncomfortable truths. We overlook these events because they don't fit the hero's journey of history. They are the stains on the national fabric. But forgetting them doesn't make them go away. It only ensures they can happen again. History is filled with shadows. It is our job to shine a light on them. If you want to support our mission to uncover more dark history, make sure to like this video and subscribe. And tell us in the comments, which historical secret do you think is still being kept from us today? Thanks for watching Zoomalyze.